I have a lump in my throat every time I think of the past. I do not have an answer, neither do I have many to listen. Here it is. There must be a reason why I was never scared in a war zone and unable to avoid the fear generated in my country. You and yours make a community. Be prepared for tomorrow and well informed of all activities around you. This is a conversation never before given or written. I am 96 years old, 31 and a half years Coast Guard service, and with that, you're receiving 70-year-old news. If this had been written aboard ship, it would never have left the census holiday. Before Pearl Harbor, my country was a world of little people, especially me being a family of 15. The Army and Navy were the big boys in the military. Then came Pearl Harbor. The Marines and Coast Guard came alive. A couple days after Pearl Harbor, me and 21 coasters were ordered to U.S. Navy troop transport George Fox Elliott. A few hours later, ships sailed for New York Army docks. Next trip to New York loaded 1,500 troops for Pago Pago, 9,000-mile trip all total. On return in, took on Marines from the island of American Samoa and a few downed airmen. Back to San Francisco. Try driving your car 15 miles an hour for 6,000 miles straight. Again, we immediately load 1,500 Marines. Where to? No one has that info. However, we take on supplies for a very long trip. Upon make a convoy, the Coast Guard Troop Transport Hunter Leggett had the flag. This, of course, made the Coast Guard happy, but didn't laugh. Ship's routine like a small city. Police, engineers, passengers, sweepers, bakers, cooks, and so forth. Getting underway and out of sight of land, all ships informed, first stop was going to be New Zealand. Our crew consisted of 450 men, 1,500 Marines, 22 Coast Guardmen, 10 mess cooks. Everybody ate standing up for all meals. Couple weeks observed New Zealand over the horizon. The weather is still windy and cold with rain. Also lousy news that New Zealand dock workers are on strike and all able-bodied citizens are in Africa fighting for the British. Once the ships were moored, the ship's company and Marines have to restore all marine landing gear so it can be easily and properly handed out to the right people at the right time. When the job was completed, liberty granted to all who are eligible. It was said that the town was full of lonesome girls, and since the ship was full of lonesome sailors and Marines, well, for anyone who knows both, the best of liberties we had. In fact, so good that the military in Africa heard how good it was when they got home. Scuttlebutt has it that is why a behind-the-barn activity took place. The Marines used their belts. What the home buddies used, I do not have the information. Don't know if there was a winner. All I know is whenever a Marine came to town, whether sick or healthy, he was given truck transportation out of town to the boondocks for health and fun. Ship's cat didn't go for any of this ongoing activities. She took an early liberty to see things for herself. She returned in a couple hours with a tomcat as escort. The two made 2 fast passes around the weather deck and off ship, never to be seen again. Well, all good things must end, so underway to where unknown. We did stop off the island of Fiji to practice landings. From all indications, we performed very poorly. This did not hold back, and now we are on a time schedule and proceeding to the island of Guadalcanal, the largest in the Southwest Pacific group, and it's British owned. She is 200 square miles landwise, over 3,000 miles from New Zealand, and she is the British protectorate in the Solomon Group. There is a change in action for all activities aboard ship now. No tears, no fears, no loud noises, just each of us is thinking of what's coming, and about over half of Marines will never ride aboard ship after this trip. The 3,000 miles is covered, and we make out the island, and the business we came for. We are ready, and drill, drill, drill. Think, think, think. Ships take position to embark their marines and supplies. Slow speed. Boats lowered to the water's edge. Reveille is called. Breakfast at 4:30. Word passed, Marines report the boats assigned with full gear. You will slide down or crawl down the rope nets to a 36-foot Higgins boat landing craft. As the boats load, they circle after the ship. When all are filled and loaded, a straight line is formed, and we head to the beach, which we can see. All cruisers, destroyers, and air pour firepower over our heads. Little or no resistance. Each boat unloads and heads back to ship for more. Biggest problem was a buildup of supplies on the beach. Nobody moving them. Second day on Guadalcanal. After several runs to the beach, it was noticed that a few bombers swept down off the mountains and immediately leveled off above the water. One wheeled off and flew into the Elliott. Big explosion, smoke and fire was the result. All I can do, plus or minus 1/4 of a mile off, but watch. Immediately headed to my ship, boarded, reported, and proceeded to fight fire until past midnight. Fire completely out of control. All hands ordered off. So me and the CO went over the bow to a destroyer. She was at G quarters, general quarters, so no welcome mat. Found a dry place under our places the torpedo tubes, but they were ordered to fire and sink the Elliott. Did so, but nothing happened. Ship did it with gunfire. Destroyer dumped us on his flagship, Coast Guard Hunter Liggett. Placed in Marine, vacated ship's whole. Could hear the battle, but could see nothing. All transports had taken refuge in the lee of Talage. Came with four minus miles, could have sunk all. They came within 4 miles of us, but they did not sink any of the transports. So about 18 of us. They wouldn't even have to slow down. But this was after one of the battles of Savo. The Hunter Liggett made trips back and forth to Guadalcanal, also to a shipyard in New Zealand. Whether there were places of landings, I do not remember. Books say otherwise. About this time, our group was transferred to the boat pool at Guadalcanal. Trips to Guadalcanal were to carry stores and bring out the dead, working and walking dead, very sick or wounded. These trips were hard to come by, as the Marines had not secured the island. For several months, it was doubtful if we held it at all. The lack of men, food, air power, sea power held all the good cards, but could not take the Marines. If they would have broken through, they could have taken the airfield, boat pool, in an hour or two. Thus, the writer and all others would be dead. What I desired to talk about, but the time doesn't give me time to talk about, on Guadalcanal, the tents, some new type of Coast Guard you don't know about, a surfman, what a sea mule is, a mini sub, night bombing and day bombings, the number of times I went to the CO and why, torpedoes, how they worked and didn't work in a minefield, boat pool. This is what the Marines thought of us. Mr. Mann, then boatsmate 1 with the U.S. Coast Guard, was assigned to the Lunga boat pool stationed nearby at Lunga Point, Guadalcanal, during the Pacific Campaign. The Coast Guard's first major participation in the Pacific War was at Guadalcanal, playing a large part in the landings of the islands. The Coast Guard's task proved so critical that they were later involved in every major amphibious campaign during World War II. During the war, the Coast Guard manned over 350 ships, among other amphibious types, assault craft, with goals of getting Marines to the beaches. The initial landings were made on Guadalcanal in August 1942 and were dispatched from the nearby Lunga base. 18 of the 22 Navy ships attached to the campaign task force carried Coast Guard personnel. These men were assigned a very important part in the landings, the operation of the landing craft. Many of the Coast Guardmen came from life-saving stations, and their experience with small boats made them the most seasoned small boat handlers in government service. Mr. Mann received the Silver Star. The Coast Guard retiree Fred Mann served 31.5 years in the Coast Guard stationed at the South Padre Island post as group commander before retiring. That is it.
Anything else you'd like to say for the recorder here?
A few of my own last words before I'm thrown out. I'd like to thank the Auxiliary for asking me to speak. What you have heard today was as I lived it and some of what I remembered.